Watch this.
Welcome to the 208 on your Friday. I'm Justin Core. Immigrants make up a significant part of Idaho's workforce, especially in agriculture, construction, hospitality, and dining. A new study is highlighting how those contributions help Idaho's economy and how the loss of that workforce could hurt the state. Here's Cooper Morgan.
For Zach Miller, it's clear there are problems.
And I don't want to be too over the top, but in Idaho, with the exception of our beef producers, the times are as tough as they've been in 30 years.
Miller is the CEO of the Idaho Farm Bureau Federation. He works with farmers and ranchers year-round and says most of them rely heavily on foreign-born workers.
There's nothing better than when your neighbor walks down the road and works for you. That's the dream. But when they don't come, you have to pivot to somewhere else.
Miller says immigrants fill positions that are often open but never have enough people to fill them.
I mean, no one will tell you, these are hard jobs. It's hard work. You have more than a transactional relationship. These farmers and ranchers have an emotional relationship. They call them regularly, these are my family members.
But now legislation like E-Verify is being proposed at the Idaho State House. It will require all employers to confirm the legal status of their workers. Critics say this type of legislation would destabilize Idaho's workforce and cost the state big.
$5.1 billion in gross state product, $400 million in state revenue, and nearly 30,000 American jobs.
Which is similar to what we saw during the Great Recession.
The dairy industry would be hit especially hard. Reduced labor means less output, which would directly impact Idahoans.
That creates a ripple effect through the economy. Cheese becomes more expensive, pizza becomes more expensive, ice cream.
Rick Narabout is CEO of the Idaho Dairymen's Association. He says the state should leave immigration policy to the federal level.
So as frustrated as we can be that sometimes Congress works slowly and can at times be dysfunctional, the reality is the responsibility lies within the federal government to solve.
Housing affordability would also be hurt.
One of the components to affordability is the labor input that we put into the homes. About a third of our workforce is foreign-born.
For all these leaders, it's not about breaking the law.
Pew and other institutions estimate that 50% of that on-farm workforce is unauthorized. And so at a macro level, we can't even feed ourselves as a country if we take the draconian approach to fixing this problem.
It's about doing it in a way that doesn't cripple the Idaho economy.
We want a fully legal workforce to where this issue is taken off the table and we remove that economic risk and that societal pain point.
I reached out to Senator Brian Lenny, who is one of the lawmakers in favor of immigration reform at the state level, but he declined an interview.
Yeah, so as we just heard right there, immigration really a key issue at the State House, but the farmers and the ranchers, a lot of people involved in that agricultural economy, which is really part of the backbone of this whole state, are like, let's be careful though.
Yeah, not so much a short-term solution, but more looking towards the long term.
Looking long term, so that we make sure that we have that legal workforce, hold them up. Arnie, Cooper, thank you.
We have before us a multitude of RSs.
I move to introduce RS 33203, RS 32879, RS 33046, RS 33137, RS 33157, RS 33188C1, RS 33189, RS 33198, RS 33207, RS 33235, RS 33248, RS 33256, RS 33257, RS 33300, RS 33091C1, RS 32823C1, RS 33276, RS 33319, RS 33350, RS 33357, RS 33358, and RS 33346.
Scintillating, I know. And with that, the fifth week of the 2026 session in the books. Today was the deadline to submit an RS into a non-privileged committee like the House Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee that you just heard from, with a total of 22 RSs, a legislative dozen maybe. Now, if you don't know, these print hearings that you kind of just heard determine if an RS turns into an actual bill or piece of legislation. They just sort of blew through all of them at once there. During that hearing, Chairman Bruce Skog said not even all of those RSs will get a hearing in front of the public, even though they are now all bills. He told us there just won't be time to get to all of them, so the committee will prioritize ones that have support from you, the public, and lawmakers as well. While those possible pieces of legislation wait for further movement, several proposed bills gained momentum this week. Here's a look back on the last 5 days in the Capitol. A bill could allow businesses to be held liable if someone uses the bathroom that does not align with their sex assigned at birth. The hotly debated part of this bill deals with the common law doctrine of premises liability. What is that? Well, it requires all public buildings, restaurants, shops, etc. maintain their property in a safe manner, so like making sure there's no ice on the sidewalk someone could slip on. This bill would define allowing anyone to use the bathroom on their property of their quote-unquote non-biological sex as a violation of that, and the owner could be sued. The bill's supporters say this would protect everyone's privacy and safety. Opponents say this would require too much proof to actually enforce, like photographic evidence in the bathroom that would open up the business to being sued for also allowing that.
I believe the way that this would operate would expose a business to double liability, where I have a reasonable expectation of privacy, and if somebody is taking pictures of me in a bathroom, that's a problem if that's their only way to prove it. Because what are they going to do, like citizen's arrest? Give me your ID, give me your fingernail. I got to prove that you're a woman.
Next, it's headed to the House floor. Another bill would require cities and counties to align their anti-discrimination ordinances with state law, repealing local protections for members of the LGBTQIA community. Supporters say House Bill 557 creates consistency statewide.
Local anti-discrimination ordinances are often weaponized against different businesses and people. I know that's not the intention, but that's what has happened.
Opponents argue it allows for discrimination on fair housing, employment, and public accommodations.
When we have folks that move here and say, hey, am I welcome here? We have to say, well, unfortunately, in the event that this bill passes, the Idaho legislature, the state is saying you are not welcome here anywhere.
That bill is headed to the Senate State Affairs Committee. In a unanimous vote on another bill, the Senate Judiciary and Rules Committee is saying it wants to change Idaho's public records law. Alan Hodges has been fighting for this legislation after his 14-year-old daughter died in a bathtub from an epileptic episode, and then her photos were released.
There is some pretty disturbing photos of my daughter that passed away a few years ago from an epileptic seizure, and they're not protected.
The only resistance was from those who say the measure should go even further. That is now headed to the Senate floor. A bill cracking down on synthetic kratom is moving through the State House. The aim is to beef up consumer protection and safety around 7-OH, which the FDA considers an opioid. It would preserve access to natural kratom leaf while banning more potent artificial kratom. Idahoans, including those in the kratom industry, actually requested this legislation because they say they want clear, uniform standards to protect the public and distinguish legitimate products from unsafe ones. You likely have at least a few short-term rentals in your neighborhood, but are cities and counties going too far in regulating them? A bill moving through the Idaho legislature would limit those regulations. The sponsor of House Bill 583 says it's all about maintaining private property rights and making sure if someone wants to rent out their property on a short-term basis, they can without burdensome regulation. The bill would allow local governments to regulate short-term rentals only when those regulations are no different than the regulations on a home that someone is just living in. Again, supporters say it's about protecting private property rights, but opponents say they want to protect neighbors.
I have full respect for the rights of private property owners, which means I have respect for the homes that are located next to these short-term rentals. So in essence, we are relying on citizens to be the ones that are enforcing the law, reporting these individuals to their respective cities or counties to ensure that the law is being followed.
And I understand the thought of, the neighbors, but I believe, like, we talk about local control a lot here. The localist control is that property owner. They should be the ones in control of their property.
The bill passed 54-16. It is now headed to the Senate. Elsewhere, it is called the Treasure Valley Partnership, a group of mayors and county commissioners from across the valley working together to fix the big problems of explosive growth. On Sunday's Viewpoint, we're talking to two of its members, Star Mayor Trevor Chadwick and Canyon County Commissioner Zach Brooks. They say while they're part of a large group of diverse viewpoints and ideologies, they're all focused on the issues that can actually help their citizens.
I think it shows that we're pretty strong as a community, in all honesty, right? And we do have different ideologies. There is no doubt about that, you know. But we can put those aside and come together for a common good, right?
When we get together in our meetings, we largely just focus on the issues that I think we're going to talk about today. We don't get into the weeds about, you know, flags or anything like that.
Interesting. You should say that.
Yeah. So it. We have some contention on how we solve or go forward with some issues, but largely we stay out of the weeds. So it's amicable between all of us.
That is coming up this Sunday at 9 a.m. on 7.2 on Viewpoint. More of the 208 after this. All right, it is time that we put this to bed so you can actually pay attention to the news and not what I'm wearing. Who would have thought that as a man I'd have to say that, but here we are. I'm being judged by my looks. Does this count as breaking through a glass ceiling? Maybe. Anyways, when I started on the Friday 208 last week, I apparently committed a 208 cardinal sin. I wore a tie, much to the chagrin of many viewers and some of my coworkers. We received many comments like this one from Teresa. Quote, "Hey Justin, why are you wearing a tie?" End quote. That's as nice as it got. All of this culminated in what the 208 team has dubbed Tie-Gate. The implication's not as serious as what the name suggests, but still a controversy I feel I needed to address head on this Friday. All right, welcome on into the 208. I am Justin Core. You might have noticed on Friday, I started my time on the 208 with a tie. Actually, a lot of you noticed. Look at these messages full of disappointment, ultimatums, talk of traditions broken, shaming from the regular anchor of the show, Hunter, drastic measures suggested, and name-calling. Tie-Gate continued on Monday when I did a classic fake out. First, though, everyone, including our great producer, Sierra, wants me to take off the tie on a tie. A pretty meta concept that impressed far too few of you. So on Tuesday, I opted for protocol and went tieless. What followed were more messages of honoring tradition, claims of victory, some thirst, and shaming for buckling under pressure. But there was also a contingency of viewers who wanted me to stay tied to my button-down brand with claims that I was being punished, and then just outright demands. Incredibly, this is actually only the latest chapter of Tie-Gate.
To wear or not to wear? I'm talking about a tie.
You see, this Tieless newscast started 6 years ago with the creation of the 208, a non-traditional approach to news with a uniform to match. Except that's the thing about going tieless. It was never about a uniform or conforming to people's expectations, as Brian Holmes once explained.
The response to this tie thing, I got one right here, by the way, and I guess I can say it's kind of refreshing to see it's not just the women getting criticized in this business for what they wear, but it also feels like this tie thing is kind of a microcosm of the camps, factions, or the tribes we've separated ourselves into. Maybe it's because we have an R or a D by our name. Maybe it's because we belong to a different social class or live in another part of town. Or maybe because someone decides to not wear a piece of fabric tied in a knot around their neck. Instead of listening to the words a person has to say, what experiences or perspective they can share, we tend to discount them altogether based on our differences. Maybe the tie thing is a generational thing. Maybe not. Maybe that's too simplistic. I understand we all have an expectation of how something should be, and when it's not that way, we aren't comfortable with it. But maybe, just maybe, if we can get past a person wearing a tie or not, maybe we have hope that the other biases we wear around our necks can be taken off.
So tie or no tie, what really matters is what we're all saying to each other and about each other. But absolutely no plaid jackets. All right, fine. So I'll take off the tie. But I actually got some great advice on why what I wear matters when I was a Cub reporter right here. Former Senator Cherie Buckner Webb from Boise told me that people hear what they see. So if you look like you know what you're talking about, people are more likely to believe what you're saying, which is why I'm wearing a tie. Another one. But I also got some other advice from a certain Papa from Fiddler on the Roof, which was simply tradition, tradition. Good point, Tevye. So, all right, now I'll actually take off the tie. There it is, never to be seen again. That color is way too wide. More of the 208 after this.
Hey, if you enjoyed the weather today in Boise, you'll probably enjoy it this weekend as well. We have pretty quiet conditions lined up for us. Tomorrow for Valentine's Day, we'll reach the mid-50s, still seeing a little bit of sunshine. It could be slightly breezy tomorrow. Shouldn't be anything too extreme, but some nuisance level winds expected. Sunday, we're pushing closer to 60, so above average warmth, well above average, still partly cloudy skies, very quiet. I should note that west central mountains have a chance at seeing some quick showers tomorrow. That could bring a little bit of snow to the west central region of Idaho. It's going to be quick moving though, because by Saturday evening, everything will be said and done. The reason we're so primarily mild this weekend is thanks to high pressure sitting off of the west coast. It's increasing our temperatures as we have southwesterly flow. Warmer air typically comes from the south, so that's what we're getting this weekend. But we are watching a system off to the northwest. So this is by the Gulf of Alaska right now, low pressure. That's going to impact us next week. So if we look at our upper level flow, we can see how this weak ridge of high pressure will continue to shift to the east over the weekend. This first area of low pressure, this first system coming from the Gulf of Alaska, will start to break down our ridge Monday night. That's going to bring some showers into the northwest altogether. But look at this second system coming from the north as well. That's going to swing to the south and reinforce that initial system. So that's a second push of cold air. That's just going to add to our active weather, our messy conditions next week in general. So we're still several days away. It's a little hard to pinpoint exact timing, but we know that showers will first come into southwest Idaho Monday evening, pick up overnight into Tuesday morning. That time frame will likely be the most active as far as we can see right now, but it's really just the kickoff of unsettled weather through the stretch of the next week. So we can finally be expecting some of those winter conditions. It's not expected to be a dumping of snow in Boise, but we will expect to see some flurries make their way down to the Treasure Valley and the Magic Valley floor. In general, next week, as I mentioned, is just overall unsettled. We'll see rounds of rain and snow. Showers will continue to come and go. We'll also see colder temperatures, finally seeing a stretch of temperatures below average. Brisk winds as well, making it a little messier outside. Significant mountain snow will be expected several days from now, so that especially will be some dicey travel conditions in that area. So short-term period, quiet next couple of days, breezy conditions for Valentine's Day, mid-50s all the way through Monday, but Monday evening is when we start to see that switch up. Monday night, that rain comes on for Boise and the Treasure Valley. Monday night into Tuesday morning is when things will get messy. We expect snow showers to hit the Treasure Valley floor in the middle of next week. Breezy conditions will pick up. You can see that our temperatures fall into the middle of next week as well, into the low 40s for those afternoon highs. So first alert conditions right now for the middle of next week. Take that with a grain of salt. It may alter as we get closer to this system because it is a developing weather situation. Okay, let's check in on some traffic because there is an incident outside that we are looking at right now. There was a crash reported just before 4:30 near Highway 16 and Beacon Light Road. All lanes have been blocked. It's about a mile stretch right now. This red, you can see things are not really moving at all. There's no estimated time that the lanes will open just yet. But we're looking at the rest of the Treasure Valley here. Pretty quiet for a Friday afternoon. Everyone may have gotten home early for the weekend. Eagle Road and Meridian, one standout location with some traffic, but overall not too bad right now.
Audriel, thank you. Now to your 411. Crews are investigating a building fire in Meridian. Crews from the Meridian Fire Department responded this morning to the Bent Housewood frame chip storage facility. Nobody was hurt. Investigators are trying to figure out, though, how it started. Idaho Fish and Game officers are investigating 3 separate incidents of deer being shot and then just left to waste. The most recent happened between January 30th and 31st, where Fish and Game says a buck was shot in the head near Arrow Rock Reservoir and then just left to die. Another instance involved a buck shot near Christmas time in an alfalfa field near Grandview in Owyhee County. And then another buck was shot with archery equipment in November and then left to die on Roby Creek Road. Starting Sunday, people who rely on SNAP benefits can no longer use them to purchase candy or soda. The department says this change intends to support the health and well-being of Idaho families. And that is your 411. On the 208, we have your comments coming up next. Let's take a look at some of your viewer comments now. It's all about ties. Bravo to No Ties on the 208. Easier to watch. Tie or no tie, you just be you. Appreciate it. Trendsetter, be one of those. Ditch the jacket. Unlikely. Also, to accommodate those that like the tie, maybe not dedicate Friday as tie day. Maybe Jess from Boise. I am one of the people who loves a good Fiddler on the Roof reference. This is actually the only person who texted in who can hire and fire me, so guess what? It's her opinion that I'm going with. All Fiddler on the Roof. We're doing a musical episode next Friday. No ties. Only one of those things is true.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.